Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This Sunday, on the Vaishnava calendar, we're celebrating the disappearance of Srila Sanatana Goswami. Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyago, Sri Jiva Gopal, one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. And Sanatana Goswami, for us, is known as the Sambandha Acharya. He's the Acharya especially known for giving knowledge of Sambandha. What is our identity? What is who are we? And Rupa Goswami is known as the Acharya for Abhideya, activities in devotional service, including ecstatic love, like relationships with Krishna. And Raghunath Das Goswami is known as the Prayojana Acharya, the Acharya demonstrating the topmost fruits of relationships with Krishna. Sanatana Goswami was actually the prime minister of a huge portion of East India during the time of the Muslim dominance, which lasted for hundreds of years. He was born in a very prestigious Brahmana caste, Saraswati Brahmana. That caste is renowned for being very pukka, very exemplary. But Sanatana Goswami, then known as Shakara Malik, yes, he took on a Muslim name because he was so intimately involved with the Muslim government. The Muslim king considered Sanatan, then Shakara Malik, to be indispensable for doing the prime minister duties. While the Muslim king went out conquering and terrorizing neighboring regions, he relied on Sanatana Goswami, Shakara Malik, to govern. And then Rupa Goswami was Dabir Kas. He was the finance minister. So these two, although not born in Muslim families, because of their intimate association with Muslims, were considered by the Hindu community to be Muslims. But actually, they're eternally liberated souls, eternally part of Lord Chaitanya's entourage, as well as part of Lord Krishna's entourage. Both are going on together in the topmost portion of the spiritual world. Both Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami in Krishna Lila are maidservants of Srimati Radharani. And they appear in Gaura Lila, seemingly as conditioned souls, in order to teach us how to take up the science of bhakti. So as you may recall, Lord Chaitanya was on his way to Vrindavan from Jagannath Puri. And everywhere he went, hundreds of thousands of people were following him. Wherever he stayed, the people would smash the boundary walls and fences and just to get a glimpse of him. thousands upon thousands of persons. They would, if he walked on the ground, on the road, hundreds of thousands of people would dig up the road where he stepped, put huge holes in the roads. So, Lord Chaitanya came to a small town named Ramakeli. This is where Dabirkas and Shakar Malik resided. And the two brothers fell at Lord Chaitanya's feet and begged for his mercy. They say, "You're known as Patita Pavana, the deliverer of the most fallen. You won't find anyone in the universe more fallen than we two. So if your reputation as Patita Pavana, the deliverer of the most fallen, is to be intact, you've got to deliver us." That's where the song comes from, the Vaishnava Bhajan. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Kodamone. Toma Vinake Dayalu Jagat Samsara. So you can read in Chaitanya Charitamrita, which I was explaining to one of our esteemed guests today. I believe it was Seth. I was telling him, Chaitanya Charitamrita is the postgraduate study. Bhagavatam is the graduate study. So there you see Dabirkas and Shakar Malik falling at Lord Chaitanya's feet, begging for his mercy. Lord Chaitanya gives them his mercy, gives them their spiritual names, Rupa and Sanatan. Just like we'll have an initiation ceremony next weekend. Someone will get a spiritual name. After giving his mercy to Rupa and Sanatan, Lord Chaitanya asks all the Vaishnavas, please pour your mercy on them. There was no envy, there was no jealousy. Why are those two getting all the attention? Why are those two getting the mercy? This is normal in material consciousness, that someone seems to have a higher position than you, more power than you, more fame, more opulences, and you think, something's wrong here. How to drag this person down, how to criticize this person, minimize their glories. Somehow to deflate, minimize, lessen the impact of anything a devotee does that's nice. You might say, oh, you made such nice pancakes to offer to their lordships today. And someone says, oh, it was an instant pancake mix. I'm looking at Krishnamai Devidasi thinking of her pancakes. You don't use instant pancake mix, do you? Okay, just want to make sure. All the Vaishnavas together were pouring their blessings upon these new initiates who are actually eternally liberated souls, but they're in the guise of conditioned souls, to demonstrate to us the process of taking shelter of Lord Chaitanya. They were very graphic in their presentation. They said, we've been bound up hand and foot and thrown into the ditch of stool-like sense objects. After they're taking shelter of Lord Chaitanya, Sanatana Goswami said to Lord Chaitanya, you know, it's not the best thing to go to Vrindavan surrounded by hundreds of thousands of persons. Once you go to Vrindavan in a solitary situation, undisturbed by crowds. Then Lord Chaitanya proceeded on his way to Vrindavan, but that night he thought, Sanatan has spoken very appropriately. I'll go back to Jagannath Puri and sometime in the future make another attempt to go to Vrindavan. And yes, later, Sanatana Goswami did meet up with Lord Chaitanya and receive Sanatan Siksha, instruction from Lord Chaitanya. He had to escape prison in order to meet up with Lord Chaitanya. How did he wind up in prison after being practically the prime minister? He decided after that meeting at Ramkeli with Lord Chaitanya, he decided, I've had enough of this government service, enough of this bad association. It's time for me to immerse myself in devotional service. Just like sometimes devotees, they tell me, I think it was Vanamali Gopal was telling me, I'm forced to work so hard, no time for sadhana, no time for reading. Enough. I want to come up with a solution in which I can maximize my devotional activities. So a devotee is always thinking like that. What am I working like a dog for? If I can come up with a better idea, okay. A better way, let me do that. Sometimes you can't come up with a better way. So Sanatana Goswami decided to report in sick to his boss, the king. I can't come to the office today. I'm sick. And so the king accepted that. Oh, okay, he's sick. He's on sick leave, okay. But then some of the minor advisors to the Muslim king told him, you know, he's not really sick. He's at home surrounded by sadhu pundits hearing Srimad Bhagavatam 24/7. So the king went himself to find out what's going on. I've heard these rumors. You're not really sick. You're simply absorbed in Krishna Katha. So he said, look, Sanatan, Shakaramali for the king, I rely on you so much for plundering and terrorizing in other regions. How can I do that if you're not taking care of the home front? In effect, in so many words, Sanatana Goswami told him, you do what you're going to do, and I'm doing what I'm going to do. So the king was very angry. He threw Sanatan into prison. While in prison, some or other, Sanatana Goswami got a message from his brother Rupa, who had already joined Lord Chaitanya. And the message was a coded message which basically implied time to somehow or other get out of prison and come join us. So how was Sanatana Goswami going to do that? You're in prison. But his brother, Rupa, before retiring from work life and taking up the role of a renunciant, had left a big stash of gold coins with a local grocer. That was the bank back then. You have a lot of gold coins, you leave them for safekeeping with a local grocery store, the equivalent of that back then. So Rupa Goswami told Sanatan in a coded way, take that money and pay your way out of prison. So Sanatana Goswami did that. He appealed to the jailkeeper. Oh, sadhu, Oh, highly elevated soul. He's talking to just the guard in the prison. Will you please let me out? But those sweet words didn't successfully motivate the guard. And then Sanatana Goswami stacked some gold coins in front of him. Now will you let me out? The guard wavered, but still. So Sanatana Goswami stacked more gold coins in front of him. Now will you let me out? And the guard said, yeah, we can do that. I'm just worried. How do I explain your absence to the king when the king returns? So Sanatana Goswami, he's practically the prime minister. He knows diplomacy and maneuvering. He said, this is what you tell the king. You took me with my chains on to the bank of the Ganga to relieve myself. And I suddenly jumped into the Ganga with all my chains on and disappeared under the water. But then the guard said, but, all right, that sounds good, great excuse. But what if you turn up later in the nearby vicinity? Sanatana told him, don't worry, I'm going to Mecca to make a pilgrimage. So in this way, Sanatana escaped from prison and traveled on a very torturous back route, not on the main roads, so he wouldn't be captured. When he finally met up with Lord Chaitanya in Varanasi, he looked like he had been for many days in the jungle. His hair was long, his beard was long. Obviously, he couldn't shave, couldn't cut his hair. Clothes were in tatters. So, Lord Chaitanya was staying at a devotee's house. And so Sanatana Goswami found out where the house was. But Lord Chaitanya had intuited, because he's omniscient, that Sanatana Goswami is at the front door. So Lord Chaitanya told the owner of the house, Tapan Mishra, go to the front door and open it. There is a sadhu there, a Vaishnava sage. Tapan Mishra went, opened the door, and saw this bearded, unshaved person wearing tattered cloth. So Tapan Mishra went back to Lord Chaitanya and said, no, I didn't see any Vaishnava sage at the door. I just saw someone totally covered with his own hair. But Lord Chaitanya told him, that's Sanatana Goswami. Go let him in. And so Sanatana Goswami came in, paid his obeisances, and then, much to Sanatana Goswami's shock, Lord Chaitanya embraced him tightly, firmly, and Sanatana said, don't touch me, don't touch me. I'm such a contaminated living entity. And Lord Chaitanya told him, by touching you, the whole universe becomes purified. I'm touching you for my own purification. These are the words of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it was there that Lord Chaitanya instructed Sanatana Goswami. And you'll find it in what chapter? It's in Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Do you remember, James, what chapter? Madhya Lila. And so, Sanatana Goswami is humbly inquiring. He said, people say I'm a great scholar. He actually was. He and his brother Rupa, in their external Muslim life. They knew Sanskrit, Persian, Arabic. So Sanatan says, people say, I'm such a great scholar, so learned, and I'm such a fool, I believe them. Such demonstration of genuine humility. How can it be true that I'm so learned when I don't know who I am? I don't know why I'm caught in the material energy and suffering. If I don't know these questions, the answer to these questions, how can I benefit myself? This is the beginning of Sambandha Gyan, understanding our constitutional identity as servants of Krishna. Who am I? That question begins, first of all, taking into account your body. Are you the body? Taking into account your mind. Are you the mind? The body's always changing. The mind is always changing. As I often point out, maybe 25 years ago, the predominant conception was that, yes, all the cells in your body change except the brain cells. But no, Krishna says that the body is always changing. That means everything about the material body. And now it's confirmed that the brain cells do change. Slowly, but they do change. So, Kayame, who am I? Am I this body? Am I this mind? The body's always changing, and everyone knows how the mind is always changing. So that's the beginning of Sambandha, understanding that we're different from the body and mind, as Krishna explains in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita. And then that Sambandha Gyan, knowledge of the self, the identity, goes deeper. So Mahaprabhu explains that the living entity is the marginal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tasasta Shakti. Sometimes you can choose to be spiritual, sometimes you can choose to be material. You're the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord. You are the Shakti, the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You're not on your own. You're not independent. You're not separate. Just like the particles of sunlight are not separate from the sun, yet they have their own identity. So Lord Chaitanya explained this to Sanatana Goswami. Marginal means that, just like the beach, sometimes the beach is covered by the ocean waves and sometimes not. So sometimes living entities are covered by the illusory energy and sometimes not. And then Lord Chaitanya explained how the conditioned soul becomes haunted by the illusory energy Maya. Just like someone's haunted by a ghost. Of course, people these days can't recognize that situation. Maybe it's happened to you, you're walking down the street in the city and you see someone just walking, talking like to themselves. You've all seen that? Of course. If you understand the Vedic wisdom, you know the person's indeed inhabited by a ghost. The ghost looks for weak-minded persons, especially those who take intoxication and takes over their body, because the ghost doesn't have a gross physical body, and therefore the ghost is always troubled and looking to trouble others. So this example is given in terms of Maya. We're haunted by the ghost of Maya. We've forgotten our spiritual identity. We identify with matter. Matter looks enjoyable in whatever form it's in, whatever substance it takes. And we seek fulfillment in the material energy because we're haunted by the ghost of the illusory energy. So Lord Chaitanya explains all this to Sanatana Goswami. And then later in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya explains about the opulence and sweetness of Krishna. Very important chapter. Because everything in Chaitanya Charitamrita is important. But if you want to understand Krishna, this chapter must be assimilated. First, he starts hearing from Lord Chaitanya about the opulence, the Aishvarya, how astounding and inconceivable are the potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But then, while Lord Chaitanya is explaining that, about the opulences of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna's sweetness overcomes him. And he starts talking about the sweetness of Krishna's beauty in Vrindavan and the sweetness of the relationships with Krishna in Vrindavan. So we are indebted to Sanatana Goswami for giving us the foundation. And of course, he gave us Brihad Bhagavatamrita. How many of you have read Brihad Bhagavatamrita? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's also exquisite Sambandha Gyan. It's beyond simply understanding. It's beyond simply giving you the understanding that you're not the body and mind. It's giving you understanding of relationships you can have with Krishna. How does Brihad Bhagavatamrita, what's the plot? It's like the best documentary, the best film, the best drama. Where's the drama queen? Is she here? Yes. So the best drama is in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Narada Muni is going through the whole universe looking for who has the most mercy from Krishna. He starts on the earth planet with a devotee in southern India. But that devotee sends him somewhere else. No, I'm not the best devotee. You should go see so-and-so. That's the best devotee. So Narada Muni goes from devotee to devotee, each one brushing him off. Not me, it's that one. And so Narada Muni goes to the next devotee. And that next devotee says, how can someone say I'm the best devotee? Narada Muni even repeats what he heard from the preceding devotee. I've heard that you're this, you're that, you're that, you're that. Just like in the case of Prahlad Maharaj. Narada Muni heard from Lord Shiva that Prahlad is the best recipient of the Lord's mercy. And Lord Shiva warned Narada Muni, yes, go see Prahlad, but be careful about glorifying him. If you start glorifying him, he may just leave, disappear on you. But Narada Muni is overwhelmed with ecstasy. I'm going to find the devotee who has the most mercy from Krishna. So Prahlad Maharaj is on the planet Sutala, visiting his grandson, Bali Maharaj. And Narada Muni comes running. He has gone at the speed of mind, go from one part of the universe to another. And he comes running into where Prahlad Maharaj was. Prahlad Maharaj is deep in meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in his meditation, he can see Narada Muni coming. Even though externally he's in samadhi. So he starts assembling all the paraphernalia for Guru Puja, preparing a seat for Narada Muni. Before he can finish doing that, Narada Muni is on him, embracing him. You are the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy. You are the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy. Prahlad is trying to sit Narada Muni down. Please take this seat. We need to do puja for you. Because who is Narada Muni to Prahlad? The spiritual master. But Narada Muni is in such ecstasy that he drops all distinctions. And all he wants is to find out who has the most mercy from Krishna. Is it Prahlad? Okay. So Prahlad's trying to worship Narada Muni with the... First he's got to try to sit him down, and then he wants to take the paraphernalia and do Guru Puja. But Narada Muni grabs the paraphernalia and starts trying to offer it to Prahlad. What a scene. So this goes on and on. Each devotee, Prahlad will send Narada Muni to who? Pandavas? Who remembers? Huh? Hanuman. He'll send Narada Muni to Hanuman. Hanuman will send Narada Muni to the Pandavas. The Pandavas will send Narada Muni to the Yadavas, the Yadu dynasty. Narada Muni will talk to Ugrasena, the chief of the Yadu dynasty. And Ugrasena will say, it's Uddhava. In this way, everyone, from the bottom of the universe to the top of the universe, is always pointing to someone else. How could they say, I'm the best recipient? You need to go talk to so-and-so. Let me tell you the glories of so-and-so. So to the vision of a non-devotee, this sounds like a repetitive plot. Where's the lust, anger, and greed? Where are the murders, the terrorism? Where are the battles? Where's the violence? But for a devotee, this journey of Narada Muni becomes sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. He goes from the bottom of the universe all the way to Brahmaloka. And in Brahmaloka, he hears that the topmost devotees of the Lord are the Braja Gopis. Oh, he heard that in Dwarka. So, we come to a situation in which Narada Muni in Dwarka has given, inadvertently, he's put Krishna into a trance of drowning in love and separation by hearing how the gopis in Vrindavan are feeling separation from him. And Krishna goes into an indescribable trance, which is there. The account of that is in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So after Krishna finally comes out of this major trance with the help of devotees in Dwarka, Narada Muni comes back and he's a bit ashamed and afraid. I put Krishna into such trance of separation, such devastation. I'm a bit ashamed to show up again. But Krishna sees Narada Muni at the door far off and says, come on in, come on in. And Krishna explains to him that someone so dear to you, person so dear to you, the Braja Gopis, you can never forget them. It's just that if someone else speaking eloquently about those persons that are so dear to you speaks so eloquently, that stirs even deeper rasa, deeper feelings. So it's not, in other words, it's not that I forgot about the Braja Gopis, but by your words, Narada Muni, you have brought about a deeper stirring of a transcendental emotions. So anyone who does that, Krishna explained in Narada Muni, is the dear friend. I'm so pleased with you. Please ask whatever benediction you want. So what is Narada Muni going to ask for? Before he asks for the benediction, he knows, let me butter up Krishna. How does Narada Muni butter up Krishna? Kirtan. Takes out his veena and starts ecstatically chanting Nanda Nandana, Gokula Mahotsava, Nanda Kumar. He's chanting all the Braj names of Krishna. And then he's ready to make his request. My dear Lord, please make it so that no one ever has enough of your mercy, your devotional service, and your love. Make it so that they're never complacent and self-satisfied. Okay, that's it, I've had enough. Like when you're taking some wonderful prasad. Someone today made me sweet potato ice cream. Who was that? I thought, sweet potato ice cream? What's that going to be like? That's dessert? Then I tasted it and, ooh. But how much can I eat before, okay, enough. So this is Narada Muni's question. Usually people get satiated. Enough, okay. No matter how wonderful the prasad is, you can only eat so much. Okay, I'm stuffed to my neck. Enough. So Narada Muni said, my dear Lord, make it so that no one ever feels they have enough of your mercy, your service, and your love. And indeed, in his commentary, Sanatana Goswami explains that according to the level of your bhakti, each of these three things, mercy, service, and praying, will be most appropriate for you. When you're a new devotee or newly established in bhakti, Krishna's mercy is essential for you to get the mercy of the devotees. And then when you're at the intermediate stage of bhakti, devotional service is most essential. You need to deepen your engagement, your immersion in devotional service, in the practices of bhakti. And then when you're very advanced, you want to go deeper in praying, in pure love of Krishna. So Narada Muni is saying, please give the benediction, but no one will ever think, I've had enough mercy, I've had enough service, I've had enough praying, love of Krishna. Make it so that such a devotee will always feel, I'm unworthy, I need more. I've never received Krishna's mercy. I'm not engaged in devotional service enough. I have no love for Krishna. Just like Lord Chaitanya would say, if you see tears in my eyes while I'm calling out Krishna, you should know I'm just putting on a show. What's the proof? If I actually loved Krishna, I would have died long ago from separation. But I'm living. That's the proof I have no love for Krishna. So that's the paradoxical nature of love of Krishna. Even a devotee situated in praying, pure love of Krishna, thinks, I've got nothing. It's hard to understand, because when you have something, you think, I know I've got it. But the paradox of love of Krishna is that the more you get, the less you think you have. So that's why Narada Muni is making this request. This is the benediction I want, that no one will ever feel anything other than inadequate, being an inadequate recipient of Krishna's mercy, his service, and his praying. You'll never feel that I've got enough, I'm full. And what was Krishna's reply? Narada Muni, you're the most brilliant of askers of benedictions. But don't you know this is already the case? Anyone who has my mercy, my service, my love, is never satisfied, never satiated. They always want more, more. I have nothing. Krishna asked Narada Muni, make another request, please. It's more satisfactory. So what did Narada Muni do? Starts playing kirtan again, playing his veena. And then he says, all right, I'll ask for two things. Make it so that I can always chant the holy name of Krishna, traveling everywhere throughout the universe, and inspiring others to chant. You see, Narada Muni is especially talking about the names of Krishna in Braj, which are more revealing than names even such as Rama, Nrsimha, Narayan. So therefore, when we sing Jai Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Ballabha, Giri Paratari, these are the names of Krishna some of the names of Krishna in Braj, which give you the complete picture beyond even the opulence of Vaikuntha. So Narada Muni says, benediction number 1, make it so that I'll always chant these names, going here and there, and inspiring others to do the same. I want to distribute the nectar of your holy names. And then number 2, make it so that whoever just once hears your holy name and understands the importance, they'll never give up your lotus feet. So that's important. Hearing the holy name, even just once, with proper understanding of its importance. Make it so that such a person can never seek any other shelter than your lotus feet. So then what happens? Krishna extends his right arm, meaning, so be it. And Narada Muni starts jumping and dancing with joy again. And then it's time for lunch in Dwarka. Lunch prasad. Served by Rukmini Devi. There's Krishna, there's Balaram, there's Narada Muni seated at the table. Rukmini Devi, as the chief wife of Krishna in Dwarka, is serving. Herself, she's serving the prasad. And the other wives are assisting. And in this way, Brihad Bhagavatamrita goes on and on and on. Episodes with the Pandavas, with Hanuman, with Lord Shiva, with Ugrasena, with Uddhava. So this is the great Vaishnava work given to us by Sanatana Goswami. Any questions? Yes.
In terms of
Seems we have no microphone yet. Huh? a major production here. Maybe you can say your question, I'll repeat it.
In terms of Sambandagyan,
In terms of Sambandagyan,
how is it that designations, or at least designations that arise from performing devotional service,
how is it that designations arising from what?
performing devotional service,
Designations that arise from performing devotional service, such as
becoming a mother, father, teacher, book distributor, cook, cow herdsman, you name it. How is it that those designations become a cause of liberation as opposed to becoming a cause of bondage?
how is it that such roles as mother, book distributor, cowherd person, what else? You name it. Teacher become
A cause for liberation,
a cause for liberation instead of
a cause for bondage.
bondage. By engaging such roles in Krishna's service. You know that.
Well, there's a tendency for them to actually become assimilated in the false ego.
He says there's a tendency that these roles, we identify with them as, I am this, I am that. For Krishna's service, we take such roles seriously, whether mother or cowherd boy, or teacher or book distributor. But we're grateful that Krishna allows us to do such service. We realize that on our own we're very tiny and insignificant, but some other Krishna has allowed us to engage in such service. And of course it has to be service. If we think, oh, I am the greatest, I am the best servitor, that's not the spirit of Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Where each of the greatest devotees says, not me. How could the preceding devotee have said that I'm so glorious in devotion? They don't know. Just like Prahlad. How could someone say that I was remembering the Lord all the time, no matter what catastrophes befell me, no matter how my father, Hiranyakashipu, tried to kill me? How can someone say that I was always thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? But then again, he thought, well, Narada Muni has said this, and he's the guru, so I can't just completely refute him. So Prahlad came up with a compromise. Okay, it could be that sometimes when I was in material danger, I remembered Krishna. So each devotee, no matter how great he is, he's sending Narada Muni onward. Keep moving. I'm not the most perfect recipient of Krishna's mercy. This shows us the attitude. Then when Narada Muni comes to Uddhava and tells Uddhava, I've just heard from the Yadavas that you're the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy. What happens to Uddhava? He starts crying, thinking, I'm such a low devotee. And he starts remembering. So all the devotees he thinks are better than him. So he's crying just by Narada Muni coming up and saying, I hear that you are the best devotee. And Uddhava's thinking, oh, all these devotees, each one so much better than me. Then his emotions switch, and he starts feeling transcendental jealousy, which has nothing to do with the material energy. Very hard to understand. Usually jealousy is so polluting. But on the spiritual platform, jealousy brings about deeper attachment for Krishna. Just like when the gopis are jealous. Oh, this one's getting all of Krishna's attention. What about me? That is for Krishna's pleasure. So Uddhava was starting to be intolerant of, hearing the glories of others in a way that had no degree of material contamination. It brought him closer, more attachment for Krishna. I've got a relationship with Krishna too. What's so great about these others? Krishna's mine. It's hard for us to understand transcendental jealousy. And then he says to Uddhava, he says to Narada Muni that, yes, I used to think, because Krishna sent me to Braj to study the inhabitants, the residents of Vrindavan, before that I thought I was such a dear devotee. My pride was as high as Mount Meru. You've read about Mount Meru? That's how high my pride was. But when I saw the love of the Brajbasis for Krishna, my Mount Meru pride was crushed to a pile of dust. Now, I do feel fortunate that Krishna sent me to Vrindavan. He sent me, but at the same time, upon seeing the love of the residents of Vrindavan for Krishna, I realized I got nothing at all. Anything else? Yes. Srila Sanatana Goswami is famous for scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures, establishing religious principles, Nana Shastra Vichara Naika Nipano Dharma Samstapako. They're giving us the translation, yes.
And yet in our Vaishnava Sangha,
and yet in our Vaishnava Sangha,
when we pick out parts of the Shastra that supports what we think is the appropriate principle, it often causes conflict.
when we pick out parts of the Shastra that we think are appropriate, it causes a conflict. Give me an example.
Well, His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj giving class, and
He's like His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami giving class.
he had some he had perspectives, and other devotees have other perspectives. They have their relative.
I didn't see it that way. He read part of his exhaustive compilation. It was very exhaustive. He's pointing out what the standard is. First you have to know what the standard is, and then you can, okay, this person, this situation, that situation. He's doing the service of clarifying the standard. That's why he said he agrees with Brajalila Devi Dasi. Not that the two are in opposition. I see both as complementary. Unless you know the standard, you're lost, like a ship on the sea without a lighthouse, without any, you got no GPS, no radar, nothing.
So that's exactly my question, Guru. You're so expert at finding that, like being able to see the whole picture, never taking.
I'm supposed to repeat this. He thinks that I'm so expert at what?
You once said you suffer from middle mania. You always find the middle ground. You always say
He says, I once said, I suffer from middle mania. I always find the middle ground.
And you never come across as an extremist in any way. But I'm just wondering, how do you have such
So he claims I never come across as an extremist. So what's the question?
I'm asking, how do you have such expertise?
How might I have such expertise?
I'm appreciating, but also asking for your advice on how to be more like you.
Well, in the example you gave, first of all, you have to know there's a standard. There's no doubt about it. Unless you know what the standard is, you have no hope of ever attaining it. But then as Brajalila Devi Dasi was pointing out, there are persons who are struggling with the standard. So how do we help them? How do we advise them? You can't do the equivalent of what they call in the Christian world, Bible bashing, hitting someone over the head with the Shastra. how to bring people, how to encourage persons to come up to the proper level. Krishna Conscious Society is a hospital. Hospital is for persons who are sick. There are different levels of patients in terms of their following the doctor's instruction. I always give the example of a classroom, at least back in the day. I ask devotees, how many of you were those who were always in the front of the classroom? Everything the teacher said, the teacher would say, jump, and you would say, how high? How many of you were like that? Mangalarti, who else? Dina Palika. Venu Madhurya says, sort of. How many? Huh?
Some teachers.
How many of you were in the back of the classroom fooling around? James, Rupamrita Sindhu, Ananya Bhakti. Who else? Yes, Krishna Mai, Gokul Leela. Anyone else like this? Anantanag, Yasudeva. Do they still, in this day and age, crumple up tiny pieces of paper, put it in your mouth, spitballs, and throw them? I guess nowadays the big worry is smartphones in the classroom. Everyone's texting and Instagramming and all that stuff, while the teacher's trying to teach. So in the front of the classroom are the goody-goodies. They always do what the teacher says. In the back of the classroom are the slackers. And in the middle, you have those who are sometimes paying attention, sometimes not. So the Society of Devotees is like that. You don't want to drive people away. At the same time, unless you know what the standard is, where's the beacon? You're like a ship out on a stormy sea and you can't find the shoreline. You can't find the harbor. The harbor is there, the standard's there, but then who's going to help the ship to find the harbor, to get there safely after some time? Some ships immediately right into the harbor. Others stay out on the storm-tossed sea for quite some time. Anything else? Yes. You'll have to talk.
Goodness, thank you so much for narrating those pastimes so beautifully. In the beginning, you mentioned when Lavyakash and Sakara Malik, when they approached Lord Chaitanya, they prayed to him and they said, you came here to deliver the most fallen, and you cannot find more fallen the person that us too, so you got to deliver us.
So you wonder what?
I wonder if someone was aspiring devotee.
You have to speak louder.
Someone who's an aspiring devotee.
For someone who's an aspiring devotee,
Like myself. Is it ever
like yourself, who's been a devotee for how many years? Since you were what, 18 or 16 or what? 17. How many years is that now?
$38.
38 years. You were married at what age?
20.
20. The old-fashioned way.
My first and only love, right?
Old-fashioned. The right way.
So externally, when they approached Lord Chaitanya and they said, you got to deliver us, the mode of this prayer seems more like demanding or giving an order. So
Because you are Patita Pavana. For your reputation to be intact, you've got to save us. If you don't deliver us, We can assure you, you won't find anyone worse. That's how to take, they're showing you how to take shelter of Lord Chaitanya.
Yes.
Don't question it, just imitate.
Yeah, that was what I wanted to ask. If on my level, is it ever appropriate to pray in such a mode to Krishna instead of, if you are willing, rather you got to do it?
Because you're Patita Bhavana, you're appealing to Lord Chaitanya. Krishna is more strict, but Krishna, as Lord Chaitanya, gives Krishna away. Just like a little child begging the mother, please, please, take care of me. Who would criticize the child for saying such a thing? Anything else? Yeah.
Thank you for your class. Can you talk about then this past time I think Srila Prabhupada told a devotee that when they said they're the most fallen, he said you're not the most anything?
Yes, because obviously such a devotee, when asking the question, might have been thinking, yeah, it's great to be the most something. Haven't I come to such an extraordinary realization? I'll get fame as being the most fallen. I'll be renowned for such an accomplishment. And as you say, Srila Prabhupada said, you're not the most anything. In other words, you're so insignificant.
Thank you.
That's Prabhupada said I can verify actually happened. A lot of these Prabhupada says, they appear from out of the blue. All right, what happens next? Does anyone know? Is anything else on the schedule?
We'll just finish going arti prayer and then prasadam.
Oh, there's prasadam. Huh?
A little bit.
A little bit of prasad will do you no harm. All right, thank you very much.